Today, the 23rd of April, was meant to be a big day in the trial of Ihsas Khan. It was supposed to be the first day of trial. Well, you haven't missed anything, neither have I. It's been pushed back a week to start on the 30th of April, which is next Monday. But I am going to take that date with a grain of salt as well. Now, I'll be there if it's on. If on by this Friday, that's still up there, and over the weekend I'll certainly turn up. But as you can see, it's unassigned for location, presiding officer, and which court. So nothing definitive has been put down, obviously. Now, just a couple of words on this whole moving around of court dates, because Justice Bellew did say he had some conflicting cases and he needed to speak to the Chief Judge about moving his cases around. Well, that's a bit unusual, particularly for a supposed trial that's going to go over 10 days, because they set these in advance so that witnesses can get time off, so that lawyers can move their schedules around. They're always in court in those days for different cases, and the police prosecutors have all got to make sure they got their briefs there. And this is they got the federal prosecutors. They're obviously coming up from maybe Canberra or from the AFP here in Sydney, whatever. They've all got to have their schedules open as well. A lot of people need to coordinate their schedules, so it's really unusual for these dates, once they've been set down, to be moved around. But this is a very unusual case, because if you recall in my prior video, that the one before that, the court date had been set on the 23rd of April, and then on the 2nd of April had been set for the 23rd, and then in the interim, a directions hearing for the 17th of April was scheduled, and that was the one that I turned up at. So it's that directions hearing. Now, here's what I think has happened. I initially thought that Bellew was handpicked and bought and sold and would be playing ball, had been set up to play ball with these guys. I'm not so sure anymore, because, and another reason I thought that was because he had said that there was some water damage to all the documents that needed to be resubmitted. Now, that may have actually been sabotage, and he was unaware of it, now that I think of it. And when I look at if it actually happened, and when I think about the last court, the directions hearings, it was meant to be his court, but it was like, and there was another power higher than him that he was sort of bowing down to, and that power was, if you recall, I said that directions hearing, a sealed and confidential affidavit, so it can't be mentioned in the court, was provided to him with requests on how the trial should be conducted. And I won't go into that just right now, but that sort of tells me that I think they picked him because they thought he's a bit of a celebrity like judge. He does footy players and football clubs and that sort of thing. And I think they picked him for this one because they thought that they could get the mental health report over the line and just get him to do some orders relating under the powers in the Supreme Court. Remember, it got transferred from Parramatta to the Supreme Court purely because they had the mental health. They could have done this trial at the local court. So it got moved to the Supreme Court. And I think they thought that they could, get this across the line. The prosecution and the defence would, because the defence was putting up this mental health angle, and the prosecution that I'd seen did not have a robust challenge towards them. So that's what I thought has happened, but obviously it didn't get past him. And I think he scheduled those dates on the 23rd of April in good faith, as just doing his job as judge. But of course, it's not just a normal case, and that was evident, particularly when I think back to the Parramatta local court hearings with the magistrates out there. That's Savadaris, and the first one, the female judge or magistrate that heard it. Now, she was bemused, and she was looking at this thing, because when the cases were coming to them, I was watching the other cases. They were straightforward, convenience store hold up or stolen television, and they just sit them down and It was all, they were confident, straightforward, and were across it. But with this Ihsas Khan one, I could tell the Parramatta magistrates were that what was before them and presented to them before the hearing just didn't seem right to them. You know, they're experienced. I just remember looks on their faces, and they're sort of like looking at this stuff, and that Savaris could not wait to get rid of it. And then when it got transferred over to the Supreme Court eventually, I always recall the guy from Tel Aviv was meant to have given the paper to Savaris, but he hadn't received it yet. And I remember him looking around, and he said, "Oh, Savaris," I remember clearly said, "I'll need that piece of paper." So this whole thing is not a straightforward case. But Savaris was happy; he got rid of it. He's palmed it off over to the Supreme Court, and it's landed in this guy's lap. And he's just doing his job as I think, as he sees, I'm a judge and here's what's before me, taking it at face value, not realising that they'd hoped that he would go down a certain path, which I don't think he's gone down. So he set it for a trial date. Now, the problem he's got now, particularly when a federal commissioner of the federal police is giving him these affidavits, taking control of his courtroom. Now, these judges, they're smart guys. He's gone, oh no, what on earth? And I can remember just the last hearing, he seemed not that jovial. The one before, he was, when he's setting trial dates and saying that stuff got damaged, he seemed confident. This time, you could tell that he wasn't running the proceedings. And this commissioner of the federal police had this affidavit, because in the interim of him setting the court dates, had come through, they had the directions hearing, and that was to impose conditions on how the interviews were to go. Now, one of them was that 3 witnesses be questioned at once. Now, the defence, one of their main ways of getting people off is to get contradictions in the prosecution's story. And the best way to do that, the only way really, is to question the witnesses separately. So that way, you get any contradictions can be seized upon it. Not always, but sometimes you can get it thrown out. The prosecution case can fall apart. But they don't seem to want to do that. And there was also the restrictions on what the media could report, i.e. they're only going to get the verdict and the headline, "terrorist convicted." That's basically all they're going to be allowed to say. I can't imagine they'll be giving any details of the witnesses, of any statements, of what people said. So they're limiting the information to... And look, this Bellew guy, he knows that this is way out of the ordinary. He was sheepishly saying things like, "Oh, yeah, I suppose that, might have its advantages," but he knows that's not how a court case goes. And I think, there's no assigned magistrate there for any of the days. He was always assigned. I think he's gone to his Chief Justice and gone, "Look, I've got to get out of this thing. I don't know what the hell's going on with it. I don't want to run it." And, I don't know what they're going to do. They can force him to run it and just cede his courtroom to the AFP commissioner, which he doesn't want to do because that'll affect his career. He'll look, these judges, they're in there for the long haul. He's not an old bloke, actually, pretty young guy. So I think this is his attempt to try and offload it. He's probably frantically trying to get some sap in there to take it, and every word spread around. No one, like Savaris, would never touch this ever again. He'd find some reason, I don't know how these are assigned, but he's like, I think he's going to have to. It was given to him for a reason. Anyway, that's what I think he's doing. I think he could, feign illness. He could do anything, but I don't think he wants to handle this. So I think there's a 50-50 chance this will go ahead on the 30th of April. But look, if it does, I'll be there. The saga continues. What is it? September 2000. It'll come up to 2 years in a few months' time. So 5 months' time, it'll be 2 years. And and it's one guy stabbing another guy, hospital only. This is if it's what as they said is actually true. And it's been 18 months and it's still just not getting anywhere. That's why these judges, they know. Oh, they know. All right. So the intrigue continues. That's it.